Hey guys, it's Saturday afternoon and it's time for some development. But today we're doing something a little bit different. Okay, we're having a little bit of a palate cleanse. We are certainly not lost any enthusiasm for fabric spas, but I was speaking to a student and helping them with their game design. And basically, what I had said to them was their initial project, as is with a lot of especially newer people to Unreal Engine, is they set things too high. They set their goals far too high. Okay, now the ideas that they have may be very good ones and very original, etc., but at that particular time, they don't really have the tools to create what they want to do. So, what I normally suggest is you take something that you know, a game that you know and you like, and you know how the mechanics work, and then basically you clone it as best you can. Now, not saying that this is going to be for release or anything, but it makes for very good practice. Okay, so having spoke to a student the other night, they pointed me towards a game I had never seen before, right? And it was called Dark Deception. And having looked through the video that I was linked to, I decided, well, actually, my student decided that they were going to try and clone it. And I decided that I would do that too, so that I can help him do what he needs to be doing. Okay? So, I hope you've seen the game before, and if you haven't, check out YouTube for Dark Deception. I'm sure it's a very good game. It seems to be popular. And we started on it last, well, I started on this last night. And here is what we have so far. The core of the game is to pick up these candles and to basically avoid the bad guys. As it was described to me, it's like a first person Pac-Man, right? Where you pick up the candles, you've got to pick them all up, and then you can make your way back to an exit, which basically completes the level. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have so far. Right, now the monster ain't going to do anything, okay, but I'll explain that one in a minute. So what I've done is we took the normal first person controller and we clamped the up down so that you can just look forward. Okay, you can look left and right, etc., and basically you can run and grab the candles. Okay, like so. So you will see that we can grab the candles, and we got, once we pick up that one, we have been making up the parts that make up our maze. Okay, so the last thing that I was doing was working on a door, right? And we can basically move through the door opens, again move through the door opens, door closes. That's all fine. Now whether we want to actually do it that way is a matter of taste, really. But what we've done here is we're sending our stuff through, and if we look at our player controller, you will see that we've got a pickup count and a total pickups. Okay, so that is all working, right? But the main part of this game is basically the maze, right? So what I decided to do was a similar thing to what I have done before, and that is to make up sections of the maze into individual blueprints. Okay, so let's have a look at that, shall we? And let's see how I've done that, and then we can basically extend it. Okay, so I believe we don't want assets, we want this. So what I've done is I've made up 5 sections at the moment. This is what I need to do this, right? And this is just to make up a basic maze. We could basically do this for more parts and extend these again. But I'm going to show you how I would go about extending these and making them so that well, let me just give you a demonstration at the moment. Okay, at the moment, if I press play, we have the lights pop up on the left hand side of these particular walls. Okay, and we also randomly create what mesh we're going to use, right? So whether it's wallpaper or the wall itself or whatever, and then it creates these pictures randomly, right? And then hangs them randomly, right? So you will notice that all our pictures are kinda random, right? Now these pictures I got from, it's like a website that gives you, it's like the Modern Museum of Art or something like that, and these give you all the PNGs and JPEGs of these classic pictures, right? So we can use these, but the point here I'm trying to show you is that these pictures are actually placed randomly. Okay, so if we stop it and then we press play again, you will notice that our pictures are different and they're hung differently, right? So we've got that picture, we've got basically the same picture again, and then we've got a portrait picture, right? And you can see from that we're getting random pictures at random angles on the screen, and then we have random makeup of our walls. Okay, so the point of this is so that when we're making our dungeon, basically the computer computes and makes everything as random as possible, right? Now, I'm not talking about the layout of the maze, right? That is all going to be basically me placing stuff down, but I'll show you me doing that shortly and show you how fast it is once you've created these blocks, okay? So I have these 5 blocks. One of them is an end block, right, which is here, right? So it has 3 walls, and basically it's an end cap, right? Then we have a left turn. Then we have a straight ahead. All right, this is a straight ahead. It's got 2 walls at the side and a floor, right? The left basically looks like, wait a minute, I'll show you. A left turn looks like this here. So it has this little alcove thing. Okay. So you can see that at both. The left turn is the same as the right turn as long as you basically turn it 180 degrees. Now I'm going to show you how to deal with these little glitches, and it's basically, once again, it's just going to be putting pillars. These pillars are used to basically cover up joins. Okay, so we can use them. So we have a straight with a door, which is basically this one here, right? So it's got its 2 sides, but one of them is a door. One side is a door. Now that's going to work as a door on the right or a door on the left. So these can be used in various ways, okay? And then finally we have a T-Junction. Now let's have a look at the T-Junction. And the T-Junction is basically a wall at the end plus 2 pillars, a floor and a ceiling, right? And that is it. Now this thing here, what we want to do is we want to set this to 200, 200, because that is basically the center of this particular thing. Okay, so if we compile that, and then we bring this down, then we move back to our center point, then you'll notice that this is now kinda in the middle, right? And probably the straight point here is slightly off as well. So we can basically straighten up all our candles by basically doing a straight, selecting our candle, and then basically making sure that it's 200, 200, okay? Because our square is basically 400 by 400. So we can go through and sort those out. Now, what I want to do here is do a further check on these straight parts. And what I want to do is either put the light on the left or the right and do the same with the picture, but it's obviously not going to do both at the same time. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to randomize where the light is, whether it's left or the right, and then whether the picture is there and whether it's left or it's right. Okay, and these are both going to affect each other from that point of view. Okay, so let's have a look at that, shall we? And I'm going to close everything down so we're starting afresh, and then we'll open our straight, and you will see here, and I'll explain this in a second as well as tidy it up a bit because it's a bit of a mess. Right, so let's have a look at this and see what it actually does at the moment. Okay, now what it's doing is we have a series of meshes, which is the one with the wallpaper and the one without. So it basically picks one of those, then sets it up, and each of these is two parts of a wall. So I need these two parts to be the same mesh, right? So what I do is I pick a mesh and then I set both left hand side to the same mesh. Now the one on the right hand side can be something different, so what we do is we pick another random one of the two and then set the right to be the same mesh, right? So that we're getting a consistent look even though it's kind of random. Okay, and then we're just using this variable here, the temp mesh, to store the random mesh that we've chosen so that we can actually apply it to both the walls on either side. Okay, now at the moment our light is not doing anything particularly special. Okay, so if we look at it, there's our light. Doesn't do anything other than it's on one side, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to click on a wall, and that's the left hand side, right? So we can basically turn this light, we can rename this as light left. Okay, then we can duplicate it and then we can rename it to lighting right. Okay, and then what we'll do is, this is at 200, so this is right in the center. Okay, and what we're going to do is rotate it by 180 degrees, and then we're going to move it to the other side, and I'm going to believe that this is going to be 200, and it's not, so we shall put that back. Okay, and we shall actually move it on the green. Oh, that's interesting. And it's done a bit of a, I'm going to freeze. Right, so it looks like this is actually going to be minus 200. Actually, no. Let's set it to 200. And where is it? It's in the wrong side, so it is actually going to be 200. In fact, it's going to be 400. Okay. So you'll see that it's now there. Now, this one is picture right, so we can rename this as picture right. Okay, and then what we can do is we can duplicate that, then change it to picture left. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to rotate it back to 0, and then we're going to set this to 0, and there we have a picture on this side. Right, but we're going to need it to be like probably about 2 or 5 or something. Let's set it to 5. Okay, that should do. Probably could get away with a little bit less than that, but what's this one set at? 389. Right, so I'm guessing we could go for 395 there. So it's basically 5 off that side. Okay, now this has given us an idea of the actual values we need when we're setting up the rest of the stuff. Okay, so we're all good with that, but we have one more issue, and what we want to do here is we're going to do, we've got a lighting left, a lighting right, and what we want is a duplication of that, and we're going to say lighting top. Okay, and in this case we are actually going to delete this because it isn't going to be this blueprint, right? But what we do want to do is have a look at this, right? And here we have our blueprints for our pictures and stuff. And what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to call it lighting top. Okay, and I'll show you why in a second. So what we're going to do with this is we've got our point light and our wall light. Our wall light is actually now going to be a ceiling light, like a chandelier type thing. So it's either going to be this or something similar. Right, I think that's going to be possible. Well, I've got a few different things here for this, but what we're going to do is we're going to see what else we have under the circumstances. and we have these Victorian interiors, and we also have this have static meshes, and I believe right, we've got doors, etc. And if we look at the ceiling, we've got this light that we could use for other things if we wanted to. Let's click on the other thing: archways, floors, pillars, stairs, walls. Right, so we've not really got anything here, but we have got an old stone house with props, and that's not going to do it either. Right, so I think we're just going to have to go with what we had there. Right, which is fine. Absolutely fine. We're going to live with that. So we can go back to here. We've got these candles as well that we could use for something. And where's our lamp? If I went past it, I think I have. Either I went past it or it's not in here. It's in the other one. Right, here it's here. Right. So basically we can do that and drag that in there. Try hard. No, it's just a palette cleanser. I'm just doing something because one of my students wants to do a game, and basically I'm trying to recreate it. And it's just a little palette cleanser so that I'm back fresh to Fabrica either tonight or tomorrow. So you sometimes need a little change of scenery, you know, just to get you going again. So what we're going to do actually is we're going to set this to 0. Right, and then what we're going to actually do is move our point light. Right, and we want to look at it top down first, which is fine because we can move that to there. And then if we look at it for the left, we can move it to here, and that should give us what we want. Okay, so if we go back to our perspective, our light should be looking good at that point. Right, now we can adjust the strengths and lights there if we so wish. And that's fine, right? So we have that, and then what we can do is we can go back to our light here, and we can drag in our light top. Okay, and we'll drag this down a bit. And basically we drag this to 200, 200, then basically, so that's going to be 200, right? This is going to be minus 200. and then we're going to drag it up the way, and it's not going to be 500, that's for sure. Oh, okay, so it's going to be 4. Oh, okay, it's not going to be 4. Let's call it 3. There we go. Now, I'm guessing that actually might be too low, which is going to kind of screw us a bit, if it is. Right, now the reason it's not coming in is I believe it is doing shaders. Okay, you can see them now. Now, what we could do is we could basically scale these down a bit. Okay, and you'll notice now we've got the walls, the lights coming out here and here and here, so we don't want that, which we're going to fix in a minute. Right. And the problem with this is that I want to check. Yeah, it's pretty much flat. No, there is a bit of a space there. Right. There is a bit of a space, so we might be able to go 3, oh, well, let's make it 310. Right, and that's still fine. So if we go 320, that's not fine. So if we go 315, could probably get away with 315. Save that. Now, we might need to bring in these, basically bring in these parts again into the game, and that's probably why it's not, these are, like, it's not showing these up right, but the minute I actually basically delete these parts and then bring them back in again, it'll be fine, right? Right, you'll notice, yeah, that's one part, isn't it? Right, okay, whatever. Right, so what we're going to do is we're going to stop that, because we need, and this is why we're getting these errors here, right? And we don't want to show the error log, so we won't bother with that. But the next point being that we're either going to show this one, or this one, right? And if one of these is blocked, or if we actually create this one, then we can't create the picture. If we create this one, we can't create the picture, okay? So we need to write the logic for that. So let's do that, okay? So what we'll do is we'll separate these into different custom events. Right, so we'll add a custom event, right, and we'll say choose lights, right, and then up here we shall say choose lights. Right, so if we break this up into sections, then it makes it easier to read and it makes it easier to follow, right? So our first part is basically pick if it's wallpaper or wall, right? Then basically what we're going to do now is we're going to int range So we're going to do random integer in range. We're going to do it between 0 and 2. So we've got light 1, light 2, light 3. Okay, and then off of this we can actually do a switch on int, right, which I normally wouldn't do, but just for quickness' sake, I would normally create these into a numerator so that they're more readable. And we can add that, add that, add that, right? And what we're going to say here is we're going to add a variable. Just for just now, I'm just doing this off the top of my head. We're going to say light chosen. Okay. It's going to be set to false when we start. Now, it can't possibly be chosen at 0. So what we're going to say is int range, right? And we're going to say between, let's say, 1 and 100. As I said, we're just making these numbers up at the moment, but it'll all be fine in the end. Then we're going to say if it's less than or equal to, then we'll say 30. Okay. Then we shall say branch as I said, this is going to be kind of hard coded at first until I decide how I'm going to do this in the end, but this is going to be the basis from where we start. Then our next part is going to, we're only going to do this if this is false, right? So we're going to say branch then if it's false, we're going to do this again because there's going to be a 30% chance that we're going to do the right. Okay, and I'm hitting the wrong buttons here because I'm not quite so used to Unreal Engine 5, right? And then we're going to do the same thing again. So there is a chance, a reasonable chance, that it's going to pick any one of the lights, right? Because there's only a 30% individual chance for each one, right? And basically what we're going to do is we're going to set this to true and we're going to duplicate it, right? And then we're going to duplicate it. And then we're going to add another variable which is going to tell us whether it was left, right or center that was actually picked. So we're going to call it int light index. Right, now as I said, this should really end up being a enumerator, but we'll live with it for now, right? We're going to set that, then we're going to duplicate it, and we're going to do the same thing over our third one, right? And the only thing we're going to do here really is we're going to delete lights, right? So let's say we say left, right, and top, okay? Right, so then what we're going to do is we're going to say this and we're going to say destroy component. Okay. And light and top, we're going to do exactly the same. I wonder if we can do both of these. Yep, we can do both of them. Right. And we can basically do that. Hitting the wrong buttons again. This is going to be index 1. As I said, these would normally be in the numerator, but we shall carry on. And this isn't going to be index right anymore. It's going to be light left. Okay. Then for this one, this is going to be index 2, which is going to be the top light. Okay. Now we can take this further by changing the intensity of the light that is actually still there, right? And in this case, we're going to delete top, and we've got left, so we want light and right. Okay. So we save that. Right. And now what we can do is we can do a save all. Right, and press play. And this isn't going to kind of work yet, right? So I'm not really too worried about that. Or maybe I am. Right. So what I'm going to do under the circumstances is we're going to zoom out here, right, and then we're going to delete there, and delete there, and then we're going to bring them back in. Right, now we might need to do this a couple of times, but basically this is how we get our blueprints working and ready to go, right? So we can just basically drag that in. We can set it to 0. And then it's easy enough to just move these into position because they'll just snap, right? And then basically what I could do is set this to 400, and then basically we'd snap right into in place, but we'll carry on with what we're doing. And you'll notice we can see immediately if there's actually a space or not. Then we can duplicate it again, and as you can see, this does not take as long at all. And there we go. Right, so we can save all again and press play, and you'll notice that it didn't work. Right, now that's all the other straights. Right, so all we need to do is check out, you know what it is? Actually, a better way to do this, right? I don't think it's hitting any of these. Right? Nope. It is not hitting any of those. So we're going to stop that. Now, it should hit them at some point. Okay. It should hit something here. Hey, Dr. O Plays, how you doing, mate? So if we press play here, okay. Am I going to assume that this isn't working because... Right, let's begin play. We're going to add the breakpoint there. And let's see. It depends on you how it's crashing. Is it textures or is it, well, I'm taking it's not textures, it's materials. Right, I am absolutely dumbfounded. Right, because this is basically not hitting anything. What? No, not really, mate. Textures and materials are my kind of weak point. Right, why is this not breaking? Right, see if we go to here, then simulate. Simulate. I would have to see it to make a to see what's going on, what's actually happening. They take it just crashes. Right. So I don't get this. I don't get why. Okay, sorry I can't be any more immediate assistance doctor role plays, but as I said, not my strong point, and I've never really used virtual textures or texture streaming, to be fair. So why is this not firing? Now, obviously is firing, right? Because it's definitely doing this. Because otherwise, it wouldn't know what textures to put on the walls, right? And these would all these walls would be the same if it's not doing that. So why is it not doing the breakpoints? Right? Unless it's something to, right, these are the straight parts, right? So if I remove them, that is me, I've removed every straight, and it still doesn't break. I don't get it. I do not get it. Right, okay. Persistent map. So we've only got 3. And this is why I don't use Unreal Engine 5, to be honest. Because I find it to be very erratic. Right, so we have no straights at all, right? So if we start the game and basically then we stop it, right, we get no errors, right? So if we drag one of these in, right, and we set the height to 0, then we drag us over in line, right, then we save that, then run it, then we stop it, we're getting this error again. BP lighting top is not static. Okay, well that kind of answers our question then. Okay, I kind of take that back. And I'm guessing that's why it wasn't breaking. Still not breaking. Right, it's not giving an error, but it's not breaking. Right, okay, tell you what. Tell you what. We'll go back to illustrate. Right, and we'll get light and top and we'll take it out. Right? And then we'll undo this, compile it, and see if it's that that's causing the problem. And apparently not. Hey Plum Nebula, how you doing, mate? Right, there's something rather weird going on here. Right, because this is not breaking at all. Right? Now, if we go into our world settings, right, and we go to first person, and this is what we're using for our controller or pawn, right? If I set that, add a breakpoint, let's see if it breaks. Look at that, hallelujah, the thing breaks. But it's not breaking on these. Right, so I'll tell you what we'll do is we're going to go to here and we're going to say delay so we're going to give it time to sort itself out. Right, now that breaks no problem. And that still doesn't break. Okay. Let's try something else. This is the T-Junction, right? So, if we go to here, and we go to here, double click on that, right? And we add a breakpoint here. And that breaks. But our straight one does not. Look at that. That is bizarre. Right, so that's our T-Junction. Don't get it. This is freaking weird. How are you doing today, Plum Nebula? I'll tell you what. I'm getting the old, it's doing strange stuff, so basically close it and open it again. Right. Always fun when it just doesn't work right. Or at least some things don't work right. Tengo. ¿Dónde? Solamente 35. 30. Sí. Right, did that? Yeah, it did open. Okay, so we'll try this out, see how it goes. Open this back up. This is obviously doing some crazy stuff. Right. Well, I'll tell you what, while this is loading up again, I'm going to go and grab a quick cigarette. I shall be right back, 2 minutes. Stick around, check out, hit the like and subscribe, check out the description for ways to support the channel. You can also join the Discord, and I shall be right back. Don't go anywhere. Okay guys, we're back from that little intermission, and let's see how this goes, right? So we have restarted, and basically what we're going to do is we're going to drop our straight. In fact, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to open it up, and then once we've opened it up, we're going to simulate, right? And if we simulate, we should get our expected result. Now, what we're going to have to do here is one slight difference, okay? Having thought about it, is we're going to need a fourth version, okay? So we're going to set this to 3, and then we're going to add a pin, and basically we're going to do the same thing here. So actually, you know what, I don't need that light chosen because it's going to come down here anyway, but we'll do it anyway, right? Trying to do this too quickly, getting myself, or not getting the code quite right. Now at this point, none of these can be chosen, right? Because this is a switch. I was thinking this was a sequence, right? But it's not a sequence at all. It's a switch, so it's only ever going to come down one of these, right? Now the question now is, should this be actually a sequence? Right? Oh, look at that. I wonder why that's got a... Why has that got that? Compile that. Right, okay, whatever. Getting a bit excited with itself there. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Right, so what we'll do is we'll just copy this, right? Because, well, we'll copy it there. And then this is going to be false, which it will be, because it can't possibly be anything else, which is a bit silly, but we set this to 3, and then basically this means that we have no lights whatsoever. Right, now you'll notice that these lights are actually set to replicate, because these were part of a game that was I was developing with somebody else that was networked, but that's no longer the case. But anyway, let's not worry about that because it doesn't really matter if they're replicated or not. So what we do here is we want left, right, left, right, that's fine. And we've removed top. Right, so that's okay, we're going to go with that, right? And if we go to viewport, then simulate, it's not doing it. Yeah, it is. See that? But okay. So what we'll do, it seems to be doing it now, and it seems that I just can't seem to remember the right buttons for Unreal Engine 5. but it seems that the reset has sort of fixed this, but this has now sort of displayed the issue with the code, which is fine. You'll notice now that we've got that, right? So we're getting a breakpoint. Hi Mo, how you doing? Now, you can see there that it's actually doing its thing. But we need to see here right, we can resume that, right, we resume that. So now we're in here, and this is value 2, which is exactly the number we didn't want. So we can step over, then the light chosen should be false, that's right. So we can step over, step over, step over, step over, and then these two should be removed. And there we go. Right, you can now see that we've only got certain lights. Okay? So it would appear at this case, in this case, that this is working, right? But we don't actually want this to be a switch. We want this to actually be a sequence. Right? So this switch has to change to a sequence, and then we need to adjust the code from there. Right, now you can see now that some of our stuff does not have lights and some of it does. Right, but for the most part, it seems to be that it's always right. Okay, so basically what we're saying here is this isn't complete. Right, we need to actually remove all the breakpoints because it keeps breaking and it's not completing its loops. Right, so we'll disable that, disable that, disable that. And we're kind of right, okay, okay, right. The big mistake we're making here is that our lights should not be visible to start with. Right? Okay. And when we come in here, we delete this, right? And then the left one, we set it to visible, right? So we set hidden in game to false. Okay, and then this, we duplicate it and we delete that, and we do that. Right? Now we are still going to have to hide some of this stuff. Right? But we can basically add our top back in and then get it to start. But the point being here that this should not be a switch, right? This should actually be a sequence, right? Where if it picks the first one, fine, it does that. Then it comes down and it says if it's already chosen, just don't bother, right? And then basically it comes down and does all its stuff, okay? So we should get more of a sort of random effect now. Right? Now, as I said, we might need to... Okay. So we're getting nothing here, but that just might be luck. And there's one. Right, now it is working, but the difference here is that our chances of anything coming from Mars are 1 to 1, he said. Right, so let's say if it's 3, right? If it's 3, we're not going to actually do this, right? What we're actually going to do is make these two visible, okay? So we're going to duplicate that. Hi, Hilge. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. Probably not, but we tried our best. Right, so what we'll do is that, and wait a minute, we do that. And our issue here is this 30%, right? And again, we're back to the old sequency thing. Right, so there we've got a light, right? There we've got no lights, which is actually the most probable of anything. Right, but there we've got lights there. And no lights there. Right, we're going to have to fix this, because this is just not giving us the results we want. Right? So what we're going to do is a sequence, and we're going to add to that, and we're going to delete that. We're going to plug this back in. Whoops. Right. So this is going to give us far more lights. How are you doing today, Helge? Again, I'm probably butchering that name, but you know, you've all got weird names that I can't pronounce. Right, so that's given us something. That's given us one there. That's given us the two there. It's given us one there, one there. Right, so we're beginning to get the effect we want. Okay? And so the next thing is basically we're destroying this component, right? And basically we're going to do picture left will be destroyed as well. Wait a minute, not picture left on that. It's going to be picture right. No, we're drawing it on, we're making this on the left, right? So basically, yes, that is true. We delete that. So now what we're doing is we're basically removing the picture under the light so that they don't interfere with, well, basically so it makes sense. There's not like a light with a picture on top of it. Okay, so we basically delete these, and for this we do picture left and picture right. Now, as I said, we'll gradually expand on this, and this is going to give us our code, right, for all the other parts, right? So once we've got this all nice and done, basically we can copy the code over, right? So now we should, if there's a light, we should not get a picture, right? But where there's not a picture, or where there's not a light, we will get a picture. And you can see that there, right? So that is perfect. And now we're beginning to get the effect we want. Right, so light, no picture, no light, picture, picture. There we go. Perfect. Right, so you can see there we are beginning to get the fact that our, let's say, maze or dungeon or whatever, or mansion, is beginning to configure itself. Okay? And now what we can see is we're removing the picture on the left, right? And we can basically do an integer and range again. Right, and let's say this is, once again, a percentage chance. Doesn't need to be, it can just be any numbers as long as we get a percentage that we want, right? And if we say this is less than or equal to the 50, right? Then we can branch okay, and we can grab so we're grabbing the picture left, so we want to know if the picture right is destroyed or not. Okay, so it's going to be destroy component, and that's that. Then we can duplicate that So there's going to be a 50-50 that we actually put a picture there. So we can delete this, and this is going to be not that, it's going to be picture left, and that's going to go in there. Okay, and then we're showing these two lights, so we delete the picture left and right, and for this one we're destroying these so we can actually show the pictures, right? So we can duplicate that, right? And then we can duplicate that. Okay, so we just check. If there's no lights, then we can put pictures both sides, but we don't necessarily do that, right? It just depends on our random chance of whether it's going to place the pictures or not. Okay? And that works smashing for us, hopefully. So we'll be able to see for here, we'll get random pictures and random lights, right? So we're getting lights on the left there, right? And there you see that we've not got any picture there, even though we've got no light, right? But there's nothing there that's now interfering with other, right? So we've got no lights, or actually we've got one light on the left, and we've got a picture on the left. We've got a picture there and a picture there, but we don't have a picture on this side. Okay? So you can see now how this is beginning to build into, now this is an interesting one. There's stuff on the left and there's stuff on the right, but there's a picture there, but there's no pictures over here. Right? Now again, you can fine tune this how you want, but you can now see that the pictures and the lights are now being randomly generated across the level. And it gives us some kind of a random aspect to our whole thing. Okay, and you can see that there, that's looking good. Right? There we go. It's looking good. And the fact of the matter is that because we are doing it this way, right, this is going to also affect how difficult the game is, right? Because if we don't get a lot of lights, then it's obviously going to be more difficult to see. Okay? And the other thing we can now do, you can take this to the nth degree, okay? What we could now do is, because we're making our light visible, right? What we can actually do now, if we wanted to, right, is we can actually look at, let's say, light and left, right? And if we look at its individual settings, maybe we don't get it particularly. Right, just let's look at it. Right, we've got our lighting. Right, we can have a look at our point light. Then we can see our intensity. Right? So, what we can do is we can take this a bit further. Right? What we can do here is go point light. We should be able to get that. Can we not? We should be able to get that point light. Yeah, get point light. Apparently not. Right, I'm not going to worry too much about that. Right, but what you could do is you could set up a random number for the intensity so that the lights weren't all equal. Right, but we're not going to worry about that for now. But lights on, brightness. Actor. Right, well, whatever. We could certainly set the brightness, even though I'm not 100% sure what that actually does. Let's see if we can do that, right? And let's see if it does anything. Let's set it to something crazy. Right, I'm thinking what we can do here is cast this to BP lighting, right? I mean, the point is here, if we're doing this, you're doing this at load time, right? It's all getting set up at load time, so in theory, we should be able to get the point light here. But apparently I can't. It does do that though. So I don't actually know what this brightness actually does. Right, whatever, that's just a warning. That's just telling me that it's already one of these. Okay, right, we're not going to worry about that for now. I would probably go about this in a separate way now, actually just create these as components and then as variables and then do it that way. And then just bring them in like that, but yeah, that's working. So what we'll do now is basically duplicate these, right? And put them back where they should be. Right. should now be back to where we were, but we have a much more random and organic way of actually building our levels. And all we need to do now is move these across, or move the logic across, right? So basically, as you can see here, we are building our level nicely. Now, the one thing I wanted to do here is there is a if I get my actually right, if we click on right, let's do that. Now you'll notice here that element 1 is a wallpaper, right? Then you'll notice the same thing, that in every instance, or actually if we check here, right, this is a material instance, and what we're actually wanting to see here is this, right? We've got two material slots, right? One element 0, element 1. Now if we click on that, you'll notice that this one has only got one slot, right? And this begins to give us options. Okay, let me show you what I mean by that. Okay, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Okay, what we'll do is we'll minimize that, maximize that. Right. So if I go to my controller, okay, and we do this, and then we're doing a begin play, right? Well, what I can do is I can get all actors of class. And that was a bit stupid. Right, I can get all actors of class. And we might be doing it with a tag, right? And we can basically say wall, okay? Right? And in actual fact, what we want to do here is delete that and get all actors with tag, right? And we say wall, okay? And there is no space there, so that's fine. Okay, now here is where it gets interesting, because we can click on this, right? And we can edit that. And then if we go to here, right, well, to be fair, we can't set this with a tag at this point, right? But what we can do is we can go to wall straight, we can go to layout straight, right? And we can set the tag. So what we can do is say, right, then that one, and that one. Right? And if it was where it was before, we've got tags. And we can basically say wall. Okay? And we can compile that. And then in here we can add a variable, and we can do this for them all, right? But actually this is not the way we do it. We delete it there, but we go back to our first person character, we add a variable, and we call it wallpapers, right? And I believe it's a material. Might be a material instance. We'll go for material instance, right, in the first. And then we'll check what it actually is. Right, now if we save that, then go for this and say wall paper, and there we go. Right, we've got wallpaper, we've got 9, 10, 11 different wallpapers, 12, 13, 14, right? So we've got 13. Okay, now these might not be the right ones, but we'll set up a couple, right? And this actually is going to be an array. Then we'll save that. Then we'll, let's say, add 5. Okay, this is just, guys, this isn't a tutorial as such. This is more of a case of, here's how I go about like randomizing stuff and making the game just that little bit different, that not every single game is the same. So, and here is a way of doing it in a sort of semi-smart way. Right, we'll do, like, let's say this one. Right, so I've got my 5, right? And what I can now do is I can get a random one of these. So I can say length, right? And then I can say -1. Right, and then I do integer and range, and it's from 0 to there. And then I can say get a copy. Then I can drag this into here. right? And then I can do for each I can it's not going to allow me to do it. I'm going to have to get cast to, these are static meshes. Right, we'll go with that and see if we can do it. I have got a reference point for this that I could check, and we set material by name, right, and we say element 1, and then basically we just bang that in there. Right, now when we start the game, that's basically going to go through all the straight walls and change every single mesh material 1 to the new wallpaper. Okay, or it should have, but I'm guessing it didn't cast properly, right? And I'm guessing I didn't actually plug it in either. And it's not doing it, as one would expect. And I'm guessing this is never hitting here. Right, so if we add a breakpoint there, it's never going to get there. Right. Now, I'm going to guess this is because it's not an actor, static mesh actor, it's just a static mesh. Right. Apparently it's never getting there either. Or none. Right, okay, so we'd need to set those all to actually actors. And at the moment they're not actors, but they should be. Ah. Right, we'll stop that just now. Those aren't the actual actors. Right? I'm ahead of myself again. This itself should be right, where's tags about? They're normally under here. Tags. Add. Wall. Right. So you'll see here that we've actually hit this, and if we have actually got one this time. Yep. Yeah, that just broke out of there. Right, but what you can do is, what I'm trying to explain is the fact that you can actually set up the wallpaper to change. Right, now I'm probably going to work on that offline, take a look at what we've got so far. I think we'll work on this tonight. We'll do a bit this afternoon. As I said, at the moment this is a bit of a palette cleanser for me, and then we'll get back, obviously we're going to get back to Fabrica Espace, but this is just a little bit of a fun Saturday afternoon thing with you guys. Hey El Pepe, how you doing, mate? Comment star. Right, so we won't worry too much about that for now. As I said, I can go and check this exactly how I set it up previously, but at the moment we don't need that. But it's just an idea of how you would do it. Is basically you'd set up your wallpapers and then look through all the objects in the level and get the static meshes that have got element 1, right? Because obviously everything's got an element 0, but the only things we're interested in are the things with element 1, right? So all we do is update element 1, which is the actual wallpaper part of the wall, right? So as I said, we'll look at that later and take it from there. But what we really need to do now is we really need to start working on the other parts, right, to do the same thing as this. So the easiest way to do it is with our T-Junction first, because our T-Junction only has one thing on it, right? If we go to our viewport, we can see there we can basically delete that, and then we can go back to our BP lighting, which whatever that was. I can type in lighting. And apparently it's not going to show us. Okay, whatever. Right, we can basically go. That's kinda not what we wanted. Right, so I'm guessing we need to click on. Why are you doing that? Right, here's our BP lighting. We can now go to our T, then we can drag that into here. Then this is obviously going to be minus 400, I believe. And I think we were setting them to 170 in height. 200 sounds good to me. And we're gonna have to rotate this. There we go. Okay. And we can take it from there. And we can basically do this on the straight, and we basically do this. Control copy then go to the event graph and paste it. Right, and we delete that for now, delete that for now, and we do that. And I think we'll call it there, guys. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit the like and subscribe. I much appreciate you watching. Check the description if you want to join the Discord or support the channel by using Patreon or looking at my previous game, adding it to your wishlist, etc. And I shall see you guys tonight at 8 PM Central, where we shall continue with this, and you'll see where I am. I'm going to continue on with this. As I said, we're doing it as a bit of a palette cleanser, and we shall probably be back onto Fabrica Space tomorrow or Monday at the latest, but we're having a bit of fun with this, so I shall see you all at 8 PM Central. Thanks again for watching. Bye bye for now.